Okay, guys. Hi there. I'm Eugene, Director of Product at Paytomat, and in this video we are talking with Ted, Chief Growth Officer at Binance, the hottest product out there in the blockchain space. So Ted, thank you very much.
Thank you, Eugene. It's a pleasure to be here.
I'd like you to spend, first of all, a couple of words about yourself and how you came to be in the blockchain space, and a bit of your background story, if you.
So my name's Ted. I'm the Chief Growth Officer at Binance. I have always been in tech. I studied computer science in undergrad, and also a master's in computer science. Was always in the latest technology, from mobility to cloud storage to consumer electronics. And the latest foray into blockchain was actually quite a serendipity. I've known CZ since high school, and we have parted ways ever since we reached college. He was working on fintech side of things, and I was working on the big data, mobility, and distributed computing side of things. We crossed paths when he did the ICO for Binance in 2017. And upon hearing this, I hopped on the phone with him to ask about what is the latest thing about the ICO and this blockchain is doing. And 30 minutes later, he sold me on the mission, and I just jumped on board. And ever since that, there has been no turning back. So far, that's the exciting journey.
That's such a cool story. So you did not own a blockchain project, so it wasn't you were not making an ICO on Binance. Is that right?
No, I was not. It was actually, we had the talk in July, so just after the ICO of Binance. And in fact, I didn't know much about crypto and blockchain at that point in time. I've heard of it, but I wasn't like knee deep in it. So it was actually a career choice, whether to go continue down the big data AI path, or just to continue jumping onto this new revolution, blockchain that is just as pervasive. And I chose to take.
You sure have entered from the front door in the blockchain world. One of the major questions I think what people have when they talk about Binance or think about Binance is the fact that it's become such a pillar of the blockchain world in general that really a lot. So first of all, it's not like it's a single point of failure, but it's a major port of possible failure in what is supposed to be a decentralized world. So the question is, do you yourself feel like this crushing weight of responsibility when it comes to just the Binance, not just the daily functioning, but its future or its strategy? And since you are the man who is deciding a lot of these things.
So absolutely, I think everybody has a lot of expectation for Binance. Actually, everybody has a lot of expectation for crypto and blockchain. And especially for Binance, to many people, we have exemplified what it means to be successful in this new revolution industry. And given that we're an exchange when we started, even though we have grown to an ecosystem, the exchange is still the most centerpiece or the core of the ecosystem. So there's a lot of responsibility to make sure people understand, people feel safe, and people has the great service we can offer. So the weight of the responsibility comes from the expectations for us to keep everybody happy, safe, serviced in a very opportune way. We also have a lot of responsibility to continue to expand the way we push blockchain and crypto forward, because adoption will continue to be something that we accelerate and fight for. But right now, the vast majority of the world, in fact, majority of the people, even in technology world, do not yet understand fully the power of blockchain. So that responsibility and that pressure we're giving onto ourselves is actually a positive thing. At the same time, we continue to be extremely paranoid about how hardworking we need to be to stay in relevance, even though we are already one of the more successful blockchain companies in this space. So overall, I would say yes, there's a lot of pressure, a lot of responsibility from the burden, from the expectation of the people who already support us, as well as the people who have yet to understand blockchain fully.
When it comes, thank you, Ted. So when it comes to, I'd say even resources management from within Binance, which is obviously quite a huge company by now, how do you have an idea? How do you divide the resources, at least percentage-wise, between the main engine and the main exchange, and for example the decentralized exchange? And do you see that, what is the like a very bird-eye view?
Sure. So when we started, it was a crypto-to-crypto exchange. And that has powered us to, if you must, popularity within 2017. And crypto-to-crypto exchange continued to be the core of our business. It continued to be the most active crypto-to-crypto exchange in the world and continued to generate healthy profit that can fund our further innovation and ambitions beyond just exchange. We have since outgrown that, having established, for example, Binance Launchpad, which is an IEO platform, Binance Labs, which is an incubator for blockchain projects. We also have Binance Charity, that is using blockchain to do good for the world in need. We also have Binance Academy, that is an education platform that is free to all. We also have Binance Info, that is more like a codex for the different projects in blockchain. We also have Binance Research, that goes really in depth into the different type of projects and crypto trends. We also have acquired Trust Wallet. We also have Trial by Bit. So there are many things. And at the core, it continues to be the crypto-to-crypto exchange. We have also started creating and implementing fiat crypto exchanges around the world, where in places where such facility is not conveniently or available to much of the public. So we have started branching out. And earlier this year, we actually launched our decentralized. So if you look at it, the exchange side of things, we have Binance.com, the centralized exchange. We have the fiat exchanges right now in Singapore, in Jersey, and Uganda. And we also have the decentralized exchange. So these you can see as, they're also on a satellite level, the additional branches we're reaching out. For example, Academy is the education platform, Labs is the incubator, Launchpad is the IEO platform. So we're branching out. If you must, the core of it is the exchange. That technology, we believe, will be fueling and propelling the core of the crypto economy. Every other stuff is part of our plan to increase adoption and increase the reach of crypto and blockchain in general. So whenever there is resource constraint, we make sure the core of it, which is Binance.com, the DEX, as well as the fiat exchanges, are taken care of. The customer service, the necessary security, and the performance and usability is optimized and maintained at a very, very high level. This way we can continue to have the necessary influence and the power to create additional projects to increase the reach.
Cool. So if I understood you correctly also, is that ideologically the Binance DEX is part of the main exchange business and so part of the core business because it also fuels the crypto-to-crypto.
So Binance DEX is based on Binance Chain. It's a blockchain that we created. But the decentralized exchange itself is actually jointly run with the community. So if you look at a centralized exchange such as Binance.com, it's centralized in a way that the governance, the innovation, the customer service, the custody of users' crypto are centralized in the exchange. But for the decentralized exchange, the innovation was spearheaded and jump-started by Binance. But the actual running of it, the maintenance of it, including, for example, the validator nodes, including the customer service, there is no central customer DEX. It's actually a community model where community users come together and help each other. We also have our facilitators that are out there answering the tough questions to help people out. But all in all, users keep custody of their own crypto in their own wallet, may it be hardware wallet or software wallet. So the DEX is actually a different designation, even though it's also crypto to crypto.
The recent addition of the stablecoin, I believe that's one tied to the British pound. Will it have, because I'm sorry, I don't remember it from the news, so that's the centralized exchange only. Will some of the stablecoins, algorithmic or not?
BGBP, it's called the Binance GBP stablecoin, because it is issued on Binance Chain. So it's a BEP2 token. It will be able to run on the Binance DEX. So the thing about Binance DEX is, because it's built on Binance Chain, so right now you can only trade the Binance Chain native tokens, which is the BEP. So there's already a stablecoin aside from the Binance Chain, Binance GBP coin, the stablecoin. That is the USDS.B by the project team Stably. And they have passed the validator nodes already. So in the future, I think in the near future, they're going to propose listing on Binance DEX directly. So there will be at least the Binance GBP stablecoin.
A bit more about the node validators of the DEX, because there's some critique around that the nodes validators are, or the majority of them is controlled by Binance. So affected or not, are they controlled or not? So basically the essence of critique is that, yeah, it's similar to EOS, but even more centralized in a way that is controlled by a single unity. I understand the non-custodial absolute advantage. I hope many users do. But also decentralized exchange means decentralized way of governing it, just like you said. So what's your take on that, and on how do you respond to that usually? What of these information is available?
Validator nodes. There are 11 validator nodes right now. And when you talk about the community saying that it's not fully decentralized, that is a fact at the moment. So right now, Binance does manage most of the validator nodes as we speak. And the reason being, choosing the governance model, and in fact, the selection of validator nodes is actually a very, very important matter. There has been quite a few controversies about different blockchains in the industry in their selection of nodes in such a way that the result may not always be, say, objective, neutral, or overall the result being agnostic. So we realized that the governance and the selection of nodes is actually something that requires a lot of design and wisdom, right? Say, for example, you should not simply choose anyone that has enough money to run a node. You should not just choose the industry friends that are close to you. You should not just choose based on geographical distribution. You want one node in this country, one node in another country. What we think is very important is we need to choose validator nodes who are serious about the longevity of the joint governance and joint operation of Binance Chain and the decentralized exchanges. The reason being, if they're in it for the financial incentive, or for whatever that could be a short-term incentive, then when they make this decision about what kind of project to, for example, vote on to list on the DEX, or some of the governance decisions, such as listing, delisting, any kind of design decisions, they could be swayed in a necessary way based on their short-term motives. So that is the reason why, in the beginning, when we want to make sure Binance Chain and DEX is launched successfully, we do rely on ourselves to make the right judgment at this point in time. We have proven the necessary rigor, the necessary discipline and ethics to make the right decision for the longevity of it. And we're going through the necessary consideration in the design of selection criteria for the right validator nodes. So by the time we start decentralizing or picking additional validator nodes, we can make that right conscientious decision.
Okay, that's actually very valid point. So basically you're postponing, I would say, the completely decentralized launch and just letting the ship sail much later, once you figured out who the validators should be and what is the criteria to be met. Okay, that's really cool. I didn't know that.
It was actually an intended delay in fully decentralizing the nodes so we can make the appropriate decisions.
I think that some of the people who might be watching, so there might be teams out there who are dreaming, so who has these sweet dreams of Binance DEX and CZ coming to them and reaching out like Jesus on the water. So, what is your main When you obviously do a lot of research, and I understand there are other people in the company who are out doing that. What does the team have to look out for, and what criteria does it have to meet to be considered on the Binance DEX, and how does if there's a voting mechanism that's already in place by the node validators, how that works, how the mechanics of that work in detail. So are there any projects that have an advantage or going on the Binance Chain and Binance DEX while others don't? So could you please elaborate on that?
Popular question is like how strict or how do people get onto the Binance DEX? And the simple answer is if you look at the probability, we would like Binance DEX to be a lot more inclusive, a lot more open compared to, for example, Binance.com. Throughout the past couple years, Binance.com have continued to raise the bar when it comes down to choosing good projects to list. So that's why there's a lot of projects waiting and hoping that they can eventually get onto Binance.com. But that waiting period is taking longer and longer because of the queue just keeps piling up. I believe for Binance DEX, the number of projects we're going to list is at least about 10 times as many as Binance.com. The criteria for Binance DEX listing at the basics is it cannot be a scam. We hope projects that make use of Binance DEX and Binance Chain to issue tokens to offer to the public to facilitate trading is still based on entrepreneurs who are serious about making a difference in the world. So if you're confident that your project is not a scam and you're really serious about changing the world, then please make sure that you apply to the Binance DEX, because that is a very, very inclusive project overall. Due to the technology, the Binance DEX is based on Binance Chain. You do need to have issued the Binance Chain token in order for it to be natively supported by the Binance DEX. And right now, Binance Chain tokens are the only way, are the only crypto assets that can be traded on the Binance DEX, right? And the process to propose to list is as follows, right? So first, you need to issue the tokens on Binance Chain. And secondly, after you have the Binance Chain crypto asset, you have to propose to the community. So at the URL community.binance.org, there is the community forum, and there is a guideline about 38 different questions you can publicize. So if you answer those 38 questions and post it as a post, as your proposal to list to the validator nodes, the validators and the community will be looking at that. There will be discussions and communication on the forum for the validators to understand the fall of it, and they will make the necessary decision and vote on whether to list, whether to pass the listing proposal or not. And once it's passed, the project team can choose the time they want to actually issue the listing instruction to list on the DEX.
Do I understand correctly that's like the passage is sort of final, like all sales are final? So meaning that if a project issues, if a project already exists, right? So when they have their tokens on another blockchain, so their passage to Binance would be final. So there's no like turning back from it. Am I right?
There are different migration models. Right now we have 10 different projects that are already listed on Binance DEX. And there's about 33 different Binance Chain tokens that are already issued on Binance Chain. So some of them actually do a partial migration. And some of them, in light of the necessary smart contract features they need to retain for certain reasons, they're actually doing a bilateral migration. For example, due to some of the users still require the smart contract features, they would be issuing the Binance Chain tokens and having the ability for those tokens to migrate back to, for example, ERC20 or say NEP5, for example, if their users require that feature down the road. So What happens is that it's actually quite flexible. But for most of the projects, they have shown commitment and feeling the faster transfer speed from Binance Chain. We're talking about like 1 block, 1 second blocks. And when I transfer a Binance Chain token to another person, for example, it's very fast. We're talking about like 1 second, you can instantly receive it. Based on those different benefits, many of the project teams have decided to migrate one way without needing to go back. But many of them also have chosen the bilateral way of migration.
Do you have any goal, or at least the general idea of how many projects should the DEX hold, and would there be a limit to them, meaning now or in the near future?
So we're thinking it's going to be in the thousands. So right now in Binance.com, there's about 150, 160, around that ballpark number of projects listed. We are seeing Binance DEX is going to be about 10 times more in terms of number of projects that will be facilitated. So we believe it will be in the thousands of projects kind of scope by the time that ramp up has reached its end. It will probably never reach its end. We will probably have to scale this even more, but the way we've designed it, having thousands of projects on there would not be a problem.
Okay, that's pretty clear. So do you internally in the company see the Binance DEX as a sort of a step towards the centralized exchange? So I understand the ideological difference, but still, for a team that gets listed on the Binance DEX, is that usually a step towards?
You mean, is it a step toward listing on Binance.com?
Yeah.
Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Okay. So these two decisions are independent. As I said, so Binance.com continues the route of choosing the best of the best projects. And as more projects come to apply, naturally the selection will be yielding a lower subset of the total applicants. I think that's a natural progression as we improve our framework on picking the best of the projects. We still would like to see people actually engaging and instead of only waiting for Binance.com to pick them. So I would say Binance DEX is a much more inclusive and open platform for entrepreneurs to provide secondary liquidity and for the rest of the world to experience their projects. And in fact, we will be running some kind of a promo where the Binance.com team takes a look at the Binance DEX listings and choose which projects can become the Binance.com listed projects. So they're independent in their decision process, but having a listing on Binance DEX definitely increases your visibility to Binance.com. And we see that as the project teams that show a lot of commitment toward blockchain technology and that believe in Binance. So that actually goes a long way in capturing the...
And in terms of the wallets integration and the importance of the, let's say, of the mobile wallets in particular in your agenda with the DEX trading. So I'm asking this because like we have, I don't know if you are aware about Paytomat, but because some of the people from Binance are, but I can't remember if you remember, because obviously you have a lot of things to remember. So we are a project that facilitates the retail payments, and you can now pay with the BNB token and with some of the tokens on BNB on our platform. So, and I think CZ retweeted one of our demos and videos recently in Latin America. But the question is, we do have a native wallet, all right, that has like 35,000 users and it's growing. And we are planning on supporting the DEX directly and fully in upcoming weeks. Sort of the scenario of the login and trade that the Trust wallet that you own at Binance currently does. So what's your stand on that? What other opportunities do you see for the wallet space? What opportunities would you direct to third-party wallets like ours? And like how high your level of interest in the mobile.
I recall you're in the Use BNB campaign, and it's actually a very nice support you have given us. Thank you very much. So regarding the wallet side of things, we believe in the future wallets will be a personal technology where everybody would have, if not one, if not just one, multiple wallets in their life. So everybody will have wallet as the primary interface they use to interact with crypto and the blockchain economy. So it's definitely a must-have. Even though central exchange are more popular right now, eventually it will be so commonplace that everybody will have their basic wallet, just like how everybody, a lot of people have bank accounts, they have debit cards, credit cards. Blockchain and crypto will allow a more inclusive and universal facility and access to finance. So we do believe wallet technology will be most important. And that is also why we have facilitated APIs with the DEX. So wallets can actually integrate one of two ways. One, the basic way is to support Binance Chain and for it to hold BEP tokens and Binance Chain assets. The other, which is a deeper integration, is actually integrating the trading feature from the DEX directly inside the wallet. So your users will be able to trade directly the assets on DEX without leaving the wallet, which eventually will mean wallets that have great user experience, great interface, and great user support will eventually be the gateway, the interface the users use to interact with the crypto community. So we actually encourage wallets to integrate the trading feature if they have the necessary resource and time, because that one is actually the most complete experience when it comes down to encouraging the adoption of wallet technology.
I think we'll definitely be doing that, and I hope the users will find it useful. Can you share any of the stats, if you have them in your head, about what percentage of users use what wallets? Do you have a very generic idea of how many use the, let's say, hardware wallet, how many use the mobile wallet, and how many use, I don't know, just browser plugins and such? If you have that in mind, that's interesting.
Okay, so right now we don't track the wallet usage, but if you go to the forum, you would see there's a field called Source ID that you can actually add to your transactions. And we're encouraging wallets to actually nominate what source ID they would like to pick for themselves, and they can actually program it into their wallet. So when there are transactions, they can use this way to track, statistically speaking, which wallets are more popular and which wallets are more used. So we don't have that stats right now, but you can look into source ID on the transaction side. That could be a useful way to track it.
Okay, that's pretty clear. The wallets are like very interesting topic, a very interesting way, I think, to grow the infrastructure in general. So from what you so brilliantly described at the beginning as the crypto trade still being the main core and remaining for the upcoming years, and then the services that would grow around it. What I'm interested to know is that if Binance has an ambition that, for example, I've heard some of the Latin American exchanges and I think mostly the developing world exchanges have that of becoming a gateway to crypto in general, and thus integrating different day-to-day services on the platform directly. Say you want to pay your house rent from the exchange directly, you can do that in Philippines, if I'm not mistaken, and such. So does that interest you? I mean, not the payment for gas or electricity directly, but I mean the idea of the user coming on to the exchange and sticking on it, not just for the trading, but for his, let's say, daily financials, or are you not?
Absolutely. I think exchanges will continue to power or be at the core of a crypto economy down the road. Because if you look at the modern finance side of things, we do feel controlled by these major financial institutions, maybe banks, maybe clearing houses. They are at the core of it. When you go abroad, when you want to exchange your, for example, fiat to another country's fiat, you do have to go through central exchanges, whether exchange services, whether it's the bank, if you withdraw the local currency from the ATM directly, even if you choose to use credit card, it does go through clearing services and exchange before it reaches your bank where you pay the monthly bill. So exchange will continue to power economic activities. In the crypto economy, exchange will also power that. So exchanges are not built just for trading. It is also built for price appraisal of different crypto assets. It's also used for exchange from one asset to the next. It can also, for example, Binance Chain is built as a high-speed chain. So when you use it as a payment, you can actually do instant on-chain payment without waiting for that consensus or that block to be confirmed. You don't have to wait for like multiple seconds or tens of minutes. It's pretty much just a 1 second beep and you get it. The vendor or the merchant is able to receive it. So I think, yes, we're extremely excited about the possibilities. And the exchange, no matter if it's the central exchange, no matter if it's the decentralized exchange or the fiat crypto exchanges around the world, will be able to power and continue to facilitate wonderful things for that crypto economy.
Paytomat are doing something for that, and I know that the Binance employees are in some cases get paid in BNB, so I guess we are kind of opening the world of retail to them too. If they can come and pay with BNB for their coffee or whatever, so that should be good because that doesn't make the money travel through all the financial institutions of the world. So yeah, that's fun, and I think that's important. So the both day-to-day usage and in some cases volatility-free usage with a stable coin are also very important. A personal question, I'd say, or at least not for someone who has like vested interest in it. People are always interested in investment opportunities. Like, okay, maybe half of the people who are watching the video are always interested in something hot and new. So again, there's no pressure in this, but do you personally, what projects can you name that you love? Do you think that we have right now? So we are in this undecided, bearish slash unknown market, like unknown waters, and like Binance had this superstars like Matic, and we talked with them yesterday, and someone else. But do you see up and coming stars that you would want to shill on the show with no consequence to anybody? So I'm just interested in your I'd say personal sympathies. Because you have a hands-on experience and...
Sure. Now, as an exchange, of course, we cannot show a particular project. But, I mean, throughout these conferences and these travelings, I've come across many, many great minds. And the ones I like especially are the ones who are not in for the short term. I think there was a very prevalent trend previously when everybody in crypto or in blockchain is working on the same things because they're hot. For quite a while, everybody was trying to do their own mainnet. Everybody was trying to create their, for example, smart contract chains. Everybody was trying to do an exchange because that seems like a hot thing to do. Everybody was trying to do a particular use case in droves. And I think that kind of cluster is interesting because a lot of people think in a very short term and think, okay, so if this is hot, I can actually raise money right now. If I jump into that category or that genre right now, it will actually be beneficial for the team, and I can have a higher valuation. And all in all, I can just, for example, exit or get listed at a better rate. I personally beg to differ. I think the blockchain space and crypto space is gigantic, and we're barely scratching the surface when it comes down to adoption and pushing the envelope in evolving it to the next usable iteration. I actually personally like to see teams working on different things. So when everybody gets together, no matter at conferences or when we actually come together, for example, when you list on DEX, list on different exchanges, showcase to the world, to the community about how blockchain and crypto can be used, it's a more eclectic and a wide array of possibilities. I think even though Binance is successful, I would recommend the entrepreneurs not to think exchange as the only or the most high probability way to make it in crypto, because that couldn't be further from the truth. We believe success should come from every possible areas. In fact, we need innovators and entrepreneurs in every single niche, genre or vertical for blockchain and crypto to become successful, to become fully adopted. So there's a lot of such entrepreneurs that comes to mind, but I will not be shilling any single one of them. But I do encourage every entrepreneur to dream big and do not ever let the lack of a particular example prior to your effort decide for you, because that could be the right thing to do.
Perfect. I think that that's very weighted and brilliant. But still, the short answer is that Binance executives do not shill projects. So at least
that is correct.
At least not publicly, they don't. Okay. I think another like maybe just one last question, and a very generic one, I admit. The one that I briefly talked about in the beginning, about a centralized exchange being somewhat a point of failure in the whole ecosystem. There's this systemic risk that is tied to BNB token itself. So BNB has propelled hugely since the last year, and so throughout the bear market, I think something like 600% throughout the bear market or something like that. But of course, for every investor that's coming on board now, let's say today or tomorrow, the higher the expectations and the hype factor of the BNB token itself, the higher is the trust of many people that it will be worth even more, the greater is the risk. So of course it's an open question, so I don't think that there is just one answer. But do you see again personally BNB as a single point of failure? Do you think that the token is very much hyped, and there somewhat, as any overhyped token, carries somewhat of a danger to the investor?
So BNB has enjoyed quite a run, and that is a fact. I think continues to be the performance of the price, or if you may, the overall market cap of BNB, just like any financial asset, whether equity or say other crypto tokens in the market, I believe it is a summation of all the belief of the supporters in the market. Now, if we have more supporters than non-supporters, I believe the price will continue to have a positive trend. But the matter of fact is, what we do is decoupled from what BNB's price action performance is. Previously, for example, for the bigger half of the last 12 months, it has been in a relatively bearish territory. We continue to build. We announced the DEXathon, the DEX hackathon, like early in 2018, and we almost took a whole year before we launched the DEX in April this year. We continued to build many different things and continue to put our effort into it. Meanwhile, the BNB price has fluctuated, has dropped from the all-time high down to the all-time low, and then come back up to reach all-time high. So I do not think that one single action alone can actually cause the BNB to go one way or the other. It's actually a collective effort of everybody and a collective belief and support of the community that is resulting, the summated result in the price of the BNB. When you say if this is going to be the systematic risk or the single point of failure, I do not think so. Because yes, it is at the core of what we do well, but it is not the only thing we do. Just like if you say if this is the single point of failure, that would sound like the team at Binance is the only people that is responsible for creating the success of Binance and therefore the price of BNB. But to the contrary of that, it's actually the entire community support that made us who we are today, instead of just us working hard. So I think collectively, we have come a long way since when we first launched, and Binance.com is the only product we have. We now have many pillars in the ecosystem. The decentralized exchange is also another pillar that are jointly run with the community. So there's no longer just one product run by one team that you can say is the single biggest success, or to the contrary, single point of failure.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense. Well, I think this is, and I hope this was one of the first videos about Binance for the Russian community, and I hope many people will find something interesting in that. I'd like to thank you, Ted, personally. Again, Ted, the Chief Growth Officer at Binance, and I hope this was interesting to you. Eugene, Director of Product at Paytomat. Thank you, Ted. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Eugene. Appreciate it. Thank you for having me.